Today is the end of the jump racing season and this year's champions are on parade here at Sandown. Between them, they have won millions. They are the best of the best. All of them are elite athletes, and it's no accident. They're the result of selective breeding.
Today, I'm going to try
For the first time on Inside Nature's Giant,
sport
we'll be looking
of
at an animal that's evolved.
I'm referring to Polo. Leading me by the reins is trainer Tom Bell.
Thoroughbred Racehorse.
Brilliant. That's it, follow it.
Training over, it's time to have a go at the real thing.
Well, come this way and I'll introduce you to Peaky.
Tom teaches a wide range of players and I'm interested to know if he feels there is still a class association to the sport.
So class, it's a difficult thing to say, but a little bit like many things in this world, it really no longer exists.
Do you have quite a diverse range of people who come here?
Absolutely, hugely diverse. You know, billionaire children from America coming here can afford to buy me, you know, every day. And again, we have some that work every night in the week in a bar to afford a lesson with me once a month. They're both equally welcome here. And that is the change of the sport of polo. Because in the past it was always very much either landed gentry, army officers, or the very wealthy that played it. I'm a fool to say that it's a cheap sport, but it is available, and we make it available to people, accessible, inclusive. And yes, you still can play polo at the highest level, as long as you employ some very good players to play with you. That level of that side of polo is still there, which you're going to have to budget 2, 3, maybe £4 million a year to play. If you just walk around in a circle to the left there, and we'll get you hitting a ball.
At 50 quid for a lesson, polo is more affordable than I had expected.
Easy and drop. That's
But I suspect for many in the working class, the barrier that stops them playing is not an economic one, but a cultural one.
Basically, polo is football with horses.
I don't know much about football.
This is a clips of everyone famous racehorse.
Do you think that you don't know anything about football, but you know everything about polo because the social stratification of our society directed you towards the activities that you are passionate about and that you are knowledgeable about?
No. My father, huge, you know, God rest his soul, a huge football fan, and my nephew as well. So they come up the same way. I'm the first person in my family to play polo, but we have ridden since there was no other mode of transport. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, you know, absolutely all the time ridden. I wouldn't necessarily say you have to be from a background to go this way, and if I'm from that background, I go that way.
But having horses helps.
Yeah, but a lot of people here haven't got a horse and have no interest to buy a horse.
Yeah.
Are you going to come up as a forward, please?
Tom trains the St Andrews University polo team, and as a final challenge, I'm joining them for a match.
Swing properly.
Oh, shoot.
All I need to do is actually hit the ball.
And your ball's coming. That should be you. Hit it hard, hit it properly. And again, lazy.
Nicely done.
Finally, a goal in the bag.
Well done, Darren. You scored a goal. We've got to be good.
My rise to high society is complete.
Class and its historical manifestation no longer exists. It didn't just evaporate, it evolved. When you have people with that lack of social experience ascending to the top and taking decisions about how everyone else lives, it's only so long before the dynamic becomes so lopsided that what seems like the right thing to do up there just makes no sense down here. The sport of kings.
Their evolutionary story is driven by speed. To survive, they needed to run fast. This was the driving force in the development of their powerful limbs.
We're looking at the forelimb of the horse, and this is the equivalent of our arm. And if you look at how it bends, what you're going to see is this is actually not a knee. We're looking at the wrist of a horse, an elbow, a shoulder. So the leg actually starts way up here. So this is the arm bone. Then we come down here in the forearm. The forearm is actually not two bones like us. It's two bones fused together into one bone that's carrying that weight. Then we get to this, which is the wrist. And then from here on down, we're looking at the hand of a horse. But the hand is very unusual because instead of having 5 digits like we do, the nail at the very end is the hoof.
But it is available.
The story of how horses came to walk on a single finger is a classic tale of evolution by natural selection.
The evolutionary history of horses is, as it happens, very well known. There's a very good fossil record. The earliest horse, Hyracotherium, the dawn horse, lived about 65 million years ago. That's about the time when the dinosaurs went extinct. And you can see that far from walking on just the middle finger, it walked on 3 or 4. And these fossils here, these are casts of fossils, they go at 10 million year intervals, so 65 million years ago, 55, 45, 35 and 25 million years ago. And as you look through time, you can see the shrinking of the side toes and the increasing reliance on the middle toe or middle finger. And if you go to a modern horse, the outer fingers have disappeared altogether except for these little vestigial splits.
No. My father, huge.
For centuries, artists were fascinated by the gait of the galloping horse, but to paint a frozen frame, they had to guess what was happening in the blur of limbs. At the National Horse Racing Museum in Newmarket, Simon Watt's been looking at how they painted these fast-moving animals.
For many years, racehorses were misrepresented in paintings because no one understood how their gaits worked. Traditionally, galloping horses are depicted in mid-air with both their front and hind legs fully extended. There was much debate as to whether they had all 4 hooves off the ground at any one time. The matter was finally resolved by the photographer Muybridge in 1878. Muybridge photographed a galloping horse called Sally Gardner. When he put his images together, he created some of the world's first ever moving pictures. He proved that indeed all 4 limbs were off the ground at one time, but tucked under the body, not stretched out as depicted by contemporary artists. He also showed that at one point during the gallop, the entire weight of the horse is supported by just one leg.
To unravel the mystery of how an animal that weighs half a ton can run so fast,